Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of our podcast, Beyond Sunday. I am so excited to be here. I'm Pastor Katie, and I am here today with our Director of Next Generation Ministry. Did I say that right?
You totally said
This
it
is
right.
Emily. Emily's going to be a frequent guest on the podcast. She doesn't know it yet, but she does now. But today I wanted to talk about something that is super important to me in ministry and in my own life, and that is camping ministry. And so I've invited Emily to be here today as well, because Emily this summer is going to be at camp with a bunch of our Asbury students.
Absolutely.
And she has had her own experiences and involvement in camp as well. And so I invited her to be able to share some of those things today. So thanks for being with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited we're doing this new thing.
Yay!
It's awesome.
And so this is kind of going to be an example a little bit of how we are diving deep in with the podcast. Rather than just hearing an announcement about sign up for camp, we want you to understand a little bit more of what the camping program is, what the offering is about, why it matters, and the impact that it has. And as I mentioned, and if you watched the podcast last week, you know that camping has already been a part of my own call story. And so it has a really special place in my heart. And Emily and I actually share something in common in that we were both married at church camps.
It's true.
I was at Lake Ponset.
Storm Mountain.
And so I think that's a testament, again, to the impact of camps. So let me talk a little bit first about camping ministry in the Dakotas Conference. And so at Asbury, we are United Methodist. We're part of the Dakotas Conference of the United Methodist Church, and that covers both North and South Dakota. And part of our shared ministry together is we have 3 camping sites. We have Lake Ponset Camp, which is in eastern South Dakota, just near Brookings, and that's on Lake Ponset and really features a lot of waterfront. That is the camp that I worked at for 5 years. It's 10 miles from my hometown and very much my home away from home. They also have the retreat center there, Living Waters Retreat Center, so they do things year-round with that. You want to tell a little bit about Storm Mountain, since that's the one near and dear to your heart?
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I've been to both, love both. Asbury has always had a big connection with Lake Ponset too. It's closer, it's East River.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of things there. Me personally, I've spent more time, I think, at Storm Mountain. I have always said, I'm like, you can bury me on Storm Mountain. It is probably my favorite place on earth. When people say, think of that place that feels like home, or that if you could imagine that space that makes you feel happy or peaceful or whatever, it is Storm Mountain. So it is out in the Black Hills. It's not far from Rapid City, Rockerville-ish.
Kind of Keystone. And,
yeah. And there are water activities, but it is much more hiking related. It is Storm Mountain. You can hike Storm Mountain. It is a tough hike. I found out last year. I thought it was wonderful as a kid. I was a counselor there last year and did a sunrise hike of Storm Mountain and was like, was it always this hard?
Things hit different in your 40s.
They do.
When you're younger.
So the nature and the forest and the mountains are what make it feel so cozy and homey to me.
I think there's some incredible opportunities to be in nature and experience God in that way. We don't have the same geography.
Right.
I was going to use a different word.
You were going to say topography.
Yes, I was.
That was
topography,
totally work
but
too.
It was going to not come out that way. So, so those are the 2 that we are biased toward, but we have a third, and that's in North Dakota, and that's Wesley Acres. Now, I have to admit, I've never gone to a camp at Wesley Acres, but I've been there for youth events, and I've been there for other events. And Wesley Acres is a hidden gem. So it is north of Valley City, North Dakota, so kind of in between Fargo and Jamestown. And they are nestled in this valley, and they have a high ropes course. They have a zip line. They have a pool, a basketball court, and they actually have a pretty decent hill that to go up to a fire pit up there. And I thought I wasn't going to make it. I'm like, I thought I was in North Dakota where it's flat, but
They found the hill that was the
the,
one
the
hill.
one hill in North Dakota is at Wesley Acres. But they've had some really signature camps up there in the last few years as well.
Yes.
I know one that had been massively popular was a Minecraft camp.
Oh, yeah. And I was thinking of their Circle of Friends camp.
Which they do, I think, they try to do at all of the sites.
They do.
It doesn't always work for them,
but it
too.
always does at Wesley Acres.
Yes.
And we've had families that have gone to Wesley Acres for their Circle of Friends camp and have spoken so highly of it. And so I think it's their ministry is just very powerful.
And the Circle of Friends camp is a camp that is tailored toward people with various needs. And so people who maybe have neurodivergency like autism, or so every person that comes to that camp, it's not an age restricted camp at all, but then they come with a care person with them, and the camp is tailored to them, and they've been doing that. When I was working at Lake Ponset, we had Circle of Friends.
Absolutely.
And I do remember one specific time where we were scheduled to do a boat ride, and the weather doesn't always go with your plans.
Right.
But that's really hard if you are someone who is very tied to a schedule.
Absolutely.
So to change, that was one of my first experiences, but to learn from the counselors and leaders at Circle of Friends was a really great opportunity for me. And I do know that the dean, I think the biggest advocate for those camps, is Koya Ackerman, Reverend Koya,
Yes.
and she is the new associate over at Sioux Falls First.
I'm very excited to have her so close by.
Yes, so we have a wonderful resource right here in Sioux Falls, and hopefully we can really start building up that Circle of Friends camp at Lake Ponset, so it's a little bit more accessible to our people who can use it.
Absolutely.
So that's just a little snippet of, so we have 3 sites, and then the sites also, like Storm Mountain, will do kind of backpacking camps and things like that. Now, oftentimes people think camping ministry is just for kids.
It is not for kids. I mean, it is for kids. It is not just for kids.
It's not just for kids. But you can start as early at, my kids have been going to camp since Abigail was 6 months old, the first time she went to camp, because they actually have family camps available where you go as a family, which is what my family had been doing. Honestly, it was our vacation for a few years, because I'm like, I get someone to make meals for me. I get to live on a lake. I get to have waterfront. Yes, that's what I want to do. And so that's what my family had done for, honestly, that was our vacation for
I think
many
that's
years.
a great vacation, actually. And I was an only child, and I don't know if family camp was a thing. My parents were like, go to camp. But I would have loved a family camp, and I think about that like for our families here, and especially if you have younger kids or just kids who haven't done this before. It's a really good way, an entry point for people who are nervous about camp.
So we did family camp, and then when my oldest son Ben got old enough to do kind of I think it was a 3-day, 2-night sort of camp, they actually had it running concurrently with the camp that we were at as a family. And so he was down at the lower end of Lake Ponset camp, and we were at the retreat center, and we would see him at meals and things. So it was like the perfect, like he got to try to be a little independent, but we were right there. And so that was really cool.
Grandparent camp.
Grandparent and me camp, popular.
So popular.
If you are looking for a way to connect with your grandkids and do something fun, and like they're not on screens all day, it's a great opportunity. Yeah. I know many grandparents that look forward to grandparent camp every year.
Well, they had to, I know at Ponset anyway, they had to last year add another family camp or grandparent camp in because they filled so fast. It is such a popular way for families to connect. And I think it's nice for parents too, because then it's like, kids, go spend time with your grandparents and have a few days to do other things
and have an incredible experience with God. Like,
yeah,
win
all the way around.
I for many years also counseled at camps, and I didn't tend to do the little kid camps until I had little kids. They sort of scared me.
Little kids scare me too.
Yeah, I have them and they still scare me a little bit. But I tended to lean more into upper elementary and middle school and high school camps where my heart was.
Mine as well. That is what I did.
And it's what you do.
And it's what I do. Yes.
And so they tend to be longer camps, but they might be more themed. I know they brought back this year the drama, the Mad Camp, music, arts, drama, dance. And so like
they have a D&D themed camp now, like a Dungeons and Dragons themed camp that I guess they just finished, and it was wildly popular. I just heard about it yesterday.
I think Stranger Things must have brought D&D back.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that they're, taking, and they've been doing this for years, where things that your kids are already interested in. I'm waiting for the Pokemon camp, honestly.
Right?
How do we not have that yet?
It's weird.
Well, if you're in camping ministry, I did not volunteer for that.
But it's not what
when I was working out there, the big camp was a Harry Potter camp. It's called Disciples or Muggles.
Yeah, why not?
Right, and the Minecraft camp, where it's taking things that kids were already really into and an interest in, say, hey, you want to go spend a week. Not only do you get to spend it talking about this thing you already love to talk about, but now we can connect it to themes and ideas and scripture, and it now becomes part of your faith. I just always thought that was a genius part of camp. And it helped like kids be excited about it, because it's like, instead of saying, okay, for a week, you're not going to get to do anything related to the thing you love the most, or that you have to choose between
this or that,
but transforming that thing into a catalyst for faith.
Yeah. And that being said, I work with middle school and high schoolers, and they are very attached to their devices. I am in my 40s, and I am attached to my device. It is difficult to give that up for a week. They are designed to be addictive. But the students that we had last year, or that I had in the high school camp where I was counseling, they literally cried when they left their phone behind. And toward somewhere around day 2, day 3, that shifted.
Yeah.
And you see a lightness in these kids and that you hadn't seen prior.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they're like, I don't know that I want my phone back. We're human. We all did probably.
Before they got home, they definitely wanted it back.
Absolutely. But it's like all of a sudden they were like, maybe it's not the most important thing. And even if it's for that week, to learn that we don't have to worship this thing in front of us. We have something so much better. We have that, and we have each other.
I think that's a huge thing, the connection.
Yeah.
And one, taking phones away helps with that, right?
Obviously. Forces it.
But I would say in my time in youth ministry in particular, what I noticed of the kids that went to camp or would go to the youth events is that we would be like at a basketball game or something, and all of a sudden I'd see one of my youth kids like high-fiving a kid from the other team. And I'd be like, what was that about? And he goes, that was my friend from camp.
Yeah.
Like they not only got to know kids better that they went with, but they got to know other kids in the Dakotas who had the same interests, faith, values as them, and help them feel less alone. Like, I'm not carrying this Bible. I'm not the only one. And sometimes kids can feel that way.
I think kids feel that way all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most powerful parts of camp. If I think about my own experience with camping, I think that's maybe one of the biggest things that I came away with as well, is feeling a sense of belonging in a way I haven't in many other places in my life.
Yes, there's a reason that camps are those mountaintop experiences.
Yeah.
And you are connected to others. At the same time, you're connected to something bigger than yourself. And you are part of this fabric that is hard to name. I think, it's hard to name now. I'm struggling to find the words for it. But it's really hard to name when you are a teenager, or, I mean, I'm sure that's true for younger kids as well, but I think I'm thinking about it through the lens of youth ministry, obviously. And it's hard to name while you're living it, I think.
Yeah.
You don't know why this thing is different, but it is.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't encourage it anymore. One of the things I was the most excited about when I started working here was we get to go to camp. We get to
Yes.
go to camp. And it had been something, Asbury has historically been known for camp.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago when I was working at Lake Ponce and I was in college at USF, I ended up at Asbury for a while because I knew so many people in this church, or at least recognized them from working at camp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It has been something that this church has valued and supported for as long as I've known. I remember before we came to Asbury, I was still in elementary school, and there was a big bus, a big Greyhound bus that drove across the state and picked kids up along the way. And the drop off point for it, I was driving from Parker, I was living in a little town close by, was Asbury. And so we would come to Asbury, my mom, and I would be crying and say, I don't want to go to camp. I'm so nervous. Again, only child. I didn't. And she'd be like pushing me on this bus.
You're
Being
fine.
like,
You're fine.
Yeah, come back when you've expanded your horizons. And I would get on this bus, and then, she's a day later, I'm like, I never want to go home. This is the
Right.
best thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And we'd go through that little dance every year. But I'm so glad that she pushed that
Yeah.
and made it a priority.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard, I think, now for me as a parent, to be like, my kid is anxious about this, or can they handle this time away? The world's different now, and
Yeah.
I think we keep a closer, maybe a tighter leash on our kids, for better or worse. That's just the way it is. And this is a really, I think, safe and exciting way for kids to experience a little bit of
Yeah.
independence as well.
Well, and even if they're younger. So last year I had the experience. I've done a lot of things with camp. I've been on staff at camp. I've been counselor at camp. Last year I had the experience of being a shepherd. So a shepherd is like an adult volunteer. You're not tasked with leading anything. You're kind of the herder, right? Like a shepherd. Hence the name. It makes so much sense. And so I took my boys to camp last year, and it was a week-long camp, and my boys were kindergarten and second grade. And I went with them because I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to. And so it was an incredible experience to get to do that with them and to be there with them. And there were things that I wasn't always the one there, but I gained so much from it. And I kind of became the camp mom because I was the only shepherd at that particular camp. And I was like twice the age of all the counselors. And all the kids just kind of latched on, and they were just like, she's a mom. She'll be safe. And I loved it. And,
Yep.
I just actually, pictures from that came up on my phone because it was almost exactly a year ago that I went. And like, I treasure that. Like, oh, I love that I did that with my kids. I love that I got to see them do that and be there for that. Like,
Yes.
that was worth making that a priority for me.
Yeah, and I was not a shepherd for my own kids, but my kids are, my boys especially, my twins, we call them my Velcro kids. They are not adventurous in that way, but connecting them with a shepherd that they knew the first time they went to camp was so reassuring to them and to me, saying, because when I left, I could say, here is somebody who cares about you,
Yeah.
who knows you, and you know that I know, and you're going to be okay.
Yep.
And that if you have something that you don't know who to talk to, or you don't know what
Right.
to do, like, go talk to this person, and
Right.
they are there for you for that reason. And it eased my mind too.
Yeah.
So I'm very great. I love the shepherds.
Yes. And even the site directors, I think, have been that way.
Yes.
My kids, the site director at Lake Ponce is a friend of mine. She's ordained clergy in the conference. But my kids were, it's Nicole. Are we going to Nicole's camp?
Mm-hmm.
And they made birdhouses and then hung them on the tree by her house because they were going to give that to her because she had made such an effort to connect with them.
And you all at this point should have at least heard of Nicole, because she comes to Asbury every year for our camp nights on Wednesday nights and talks about camping ministry each year when it's time to sign up for camp. So
She's pretty awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm so excited that Asbury continues to be invested in camping ministry. And the one camp we haven't talked about is there are also camps for adults. and that are not, adults that are there with kids, but that are retreat type ministries, and they go into the fall and in the spring as well. But those are also in the camp brochures as well. And so if you were like, that sounds really great, I don't have grandkids, my kids are grown, or I
I
don't
have
really want to be
kids.
around kids for a weekend, I do know of some friends that there was a women's retreat, renewal retreat weekend that was out at Storm Mountain. They love it. They loved it. They said it was refreshing. It was really great to connect with other women, but also just really relaxing and having time like to take time for themselves, which moms don't often do.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of times women, whether they have kids or not, is
Yeah.
not something that women do. But on the other side of it too, I don't know that they did this particular camp this year, but I remember talking to somebody from Asbury who went to like Guys and Golf.
Yeah, they had a goal. Yeah.
And that was a chance for men to connect in those. But there's some that aren't gender specific either.
Right.
There's for different age groups. There's one for I forgot what it's called this year, but it is. We should have a brochure in front of
We
us.
should have. That would have been smart.
But
We care about it so much that we've been talking this long without the brochure in front of us.
right. Camp's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But that are for like Gen Xers and boomers. It's called like it's something like I don't remember what it's called, but it's like so they tailor them to different stages of life. There are some in different, again, they do the same thing that they do for kids with a Minecraft camp or a Dungeons and Dragons camp, but it is not. You don't have to go to Dungeons and Dragons camp as an adult, if you don't want to.
But also, if you think those things sound kind of interesting, especially if you're a guy, they're always looking for counselors.
Always.
And I would say, in particular, male counselors is always a big need for many of our camps. And I would just say, if it's never been an experience that you've had, I can't encourage you enough. If you have kids, go with your kids. If you have grandkids, go with your grandkids, or be invested in helping to send people to camp. I've heard Emily talk about that at Asbury. We commit to 50% the cost of camp. I think that's awesome, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if someone has a need greater than that, that we can make that happen, because we never want there to be a reason someone doesn't go to camp.
Yes, that is very true. Asbury, I could just rattle the thing. Asbury's committed to investing in those wishing to attend camp by providing, camp scholarships that are 50% of the registration cost. So that is just immediate. If you put Asbury as your home church for while you register, that there is a code, and that is just done.
Yeah.
There are camp scholarships through the conference that is super helpful. I would absolutely encourage families to do that. It's especially as time goes on, they sometimes are not used. That those funds aren't used, and so find out. It's worth it. There's if you're a first-time camper, which for how they define a first-time camper is anyone who hasn't been to camp in 3 years. So it's not like ever in your whole entire life, but there's a 10% discount that's available. And there's a bring a friend discount that's available.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of things.
Yes. So, and there, again, like you said, and if through all of those avenues, there is still balance at the end that is like, oh, this still feels like a barrier, we will find a way to get it funded. We will find a way. You will go to camp. You can go to camp.
Yes, it's that important.
Yeah.
Camping ministry, speaking on the side of, I've done a lot of work in our conference on our Board of Ordained Ministry and on the ordained ministry side of things. And honestly, one of the greatest avenues of people discovering their call into ministry is through camping ministry. There is something about being set apart and really focused on, being away from your phone and being away from everyday cares that gives you the space to hear God's voice. And we've had many people experience that calling or hear that calling finally, or feel ready to accept that calling at camp. And so, that alone, I think, is a worthwhile reason to support this ministry, to keep it going. and to keep encouraging, because a week at camp is how many hours? We get, maybe an hour for worship, couple hours if you're coming every week to like Wednesday night activities. We get that in 1 week in the summer. We can pour into, our people and give them that love and experience and belonging, that can help carry them through some of the tough times that they might experience throughout the year.
Absolutely.
So it's just, and like I said, if you've heard my story, if you watched the previous episode, and you can talk to either one of us, and how camp really, it's home away from
Changes your
home.
life.
It changes your life. It really does.
Is literally transformative.
And I was one of those kids. You've heard before, I grew up Lutheran. I actually didn't go to Methodist camps as a kid. I went to Lutheran camps, and I remember going to a Lutheran camp when I was in 5th grade, because it was the only year my church at that time paid for you to go 1 year. I didn't know you could go more than that. I wish someone would have told me, because I was sold. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna work here, and I had applied. This is a fun story. I had applied to work at the Lutheran church camp when I was a senior in high school. They did not hire me, probably because I was attending a Methodist church. And so I was like, that was my plan. And so then I didn't know what to do. And my father, who, this is going to come up multiple times, my father worked selling fire extinguishers for Hyman Fire Equipment. And he would travel around and visit with people. And he had the account at Lake Ponce Camp. And
oh, funny.
He was out there doing their fire extinguishers, and he was talking to the maintenance person. Actually, his name is Tim Strohs. That might be a familiar name to some of you. And they
also formative in my youth years.
Right? And they were like, well, we're still hiring for people out here. And so my dad came home and was like, maybe you should go work for the Methodist camp. And so I applied, and like that day they're like, yeah, we'll hire you, like, come. And so I started working at Lake Ponce the day after I graduated from high school. And I think to this day that is one of those formative, like, forks in the road. Had I been hired by the Lutheran camp, I would probably be a Lutheran pastor today. But the Methodist took me, so thank you.
Yeah, also excellent for the Methodists. We're glad that was the way it went.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about camp just like captured my heart then, and it's just never let go. And camp is an important part for me to pass on to my children. And I hope that it becomes something that's important for you. And maybe you're like our family, where you could use it as a vacation, or use it as a vacation from your kids for a week.
Honestly.
Like, you need to get some stuff done, like have your kids go have a formative experience and come back enlivened and excited and emboldened, and ready to go for the new year and in the church. And you also can sleep. So again, win. So but yeah, I hope this helps you understand a little bit more of our passion for why camping ministry is so important.
Absolutely. We this year, we have I think 45 kids going to, or people. That's not true, not kids. We have 45 people going to 50 camps, which means we have
kids at heart.
Yes. Going to 50 camps, which means there are people going to more than one camp this year because they love it so much.
How can you choose?
And that is a huge shift in these last several years for, we had a pandemic and we didn't have camp. And it has been a slow kind of growth out, from then. I remember the year I started, they're like, well, we had 11 kids go to camp last year, and this year we have 45.
That's huge. That's huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And I would love next year to see 50 people go to camp. I think that isn't unreasonable.
I want to see that every kid, every youth connected to our church has had a camping experience.
Yeah, I would like to see every adult who's connected to our church have a camping experience.
Go big or go home. Let's dream big here.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. And so, so I feel I feel excited and honored to be a part of a church that invests that way. When we have things like fundraisers for camperships, or if we are talking about stewardship and you're thinking about what your giving is going to look like the next year, um, know that those it's going to transforming the people in our church home.
Yeah.
So when you give to our church, when you put things in the offering, this allows us to do the ministries that we're called to do.
So on that note, if you give to the church, there's two ways that you get to help support camping ministry. One is through that 50% scholarship that our church provides. The other way, that's a little more indirect, but I do want you to be aware of it, is that when you give to the general budget of our church, part of that goes to what we call apportionments. And that is our shared ministry. And our shared ministry helps fund our camping ministries. And so, again, your generosity here does already benefit our camping ministries, and then and that they in turn benefit our ministry. So, like, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. And then I'm even thinking about things like those of us, I'm coming at it from the next generation angle of like, it allows, because I work here full time, I then can find other counselors who can be at camp. I can drive students to camp and be there, and that is because I'm employed by this church.
Yes. And that's your job. You're not taking time off to do that. That is
Right.
part of your work.
Right. And so,
which is one of the best parts of youth ministry, honestly.
My job is the most fun and I love it so much.
Yeah.
But that is thanks to your generosity.
Yeah.
At Asbury, is that these things happen. Sometimes I think it feels like those types of general giving, it's boring, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it sounds like keeping the lights on. It's not like the exciting whatever thing. But it actually is.
It is.
It actually is. When you see kids come back and their lives have changed, when you see adults being able to take some time for themselves in a new way because they went to guys and golf or a women's retreat, that is through our camping ministries. It is because we do these things, and it is such important and holy work.
Yeah.
And so thanks for your generosity.
We had a student last year who went to camp who was maybe not so sure about it.
No.
But had a transforming experience.
Absolutely. I brought high schoolers to camp for the first time, a lot of them last year. And when I say again, they were crying, leaving their phones behind. I am not being hyperbolic. This was as we got closer and closer, and you go down this road with a bunch of switchbacks down into the valley where Storm Mountain Camp is. These were not, I thought, maybe this was not a good move. I mean, and I was like, you're going to be fine. We're going to do this. And then we were getting closer. I'm like, oh no, maybe this was not right. Maybe they weren't ready.
We're going to have detox.
Yeah. This was not prompted. This was something that one of our students, she graduated now, but wrote about her camping experience that we didn't ask for. She just felt. And she said, being at Storm Mountain in the Black Hills for church camp truly changed me in ways I never expected. Surrounded by the beauty of nature and completely disconnected from the chaos of everyday life, I was able to slow down and really feel God's presence all around me. The quiet moments during worship, the deep conversations under the stars, and the love I felt from everyone there opened my heart in a way I didn't even know it needed. I felt God working in me, healing, guiding, and reminding me that I'm never alone. This place brought me so much peace and clarity, and I left feeling more connected to my faith and more sure of who I am in God's eyes. I've read that so many times, and I still get goosebumps. She's going to Methodist college next year.
So, again, I hope that gives you a little more insight into why we talk about camping ministry so much, why we encourage camping ministry so much, and why we're committed to it. And so that's a little bit of one of the things you can do to live a Christian life beyond Sunday. Until next time, God bless.